Have you ever worn a wool t-shirt? If not, thank me now, because you're in for a treat. Our friends at Unbound Merino sent me these clothes, and let me tell you, these shirts are different. 100% wool, and not like old itchy LL Bean sweater wool. They are nice. I bought 5 more with my own money. They use 100% ultra-fine premium merino wool that is naturally odor resistant, antibacterial, and fast drying. Their style is minimalist, functional, and timeless. You can go work out or you can go out. You won't look out of place. Click on the link in the description and enter code Chael at checkout to get a special discount off your total first order. Thank you, Unbound Merino, for sponsoring this program. Who's the best heavyweight fighter in the world, guys? Who is it? Is it Francis? That would certainly be the right thing to say. I fully believe that the guy's got the belt no matter what. If you come in the bag and go, well, I know guys can beat him, I think you're a jerk. Why aren't those guys beating him? Why aren't they speaking of even trying to beat him? I think you look like a jerk when you do that. I don't like it. 155 pounds, which is the deepest and hardest division in the history of our industry. And Charles Oliveira is the most questioned champion we've got. That's weird. That's a very weird thing. I don't agree with that. But we still do it, right? Me too. I'm doing it right now. I don't think Francis is the best. I don't think Surreal is the second best. They just fought for the world championship. That's what it's supposed to mean. Number one contender is supposed to mean you have separated yourself from the pack. You are the best of the bunch, and there's only one question left, which is, can you beat the world champion? That's what it's supposed to mean. And we usually get pretty close to that. Sometimes we got some divisions that are pretty debated, and hey, you're going to go next, and you're going to go in this order, and it's damn near flip a coin. That's okay. But that is what it's supposed to mean. And after seeing what I saw on Saturday, I don't have either guy. So who do you have? It would seem to me, knowing what we know now, and guys, don't forget, techniques that work versus what we were told was going to work or what was meant to work or what was practiced and designed to work versus what actually worked is one thing that started to be established and refined since 1993. And you had the karates and the aikidos and the kung fus and the wing chunks. You had these traditional martial arts that quickly found their way out the door. But they made a statement before they left, which is our techniques are so dangerous. They're so effective. We're not going to compete in this style of competition, right? They had their excuse and they got the hell out of the way. But then you saw jiu-jitsu that was taking over. Jiu-jitsu quit taking over by 98. By 99, jiu-jitsu had its excuse, which is we are meant for one long fight. What is much more real in society? You have a round system, man. You're taking us out of our element, and you're doing it up to 5 times. They offered their excuse. The one element of MMA that was true in 1993 and is true in 2022, and the one genre that never offered an excuse not once was the wrestler. They did not complain when there wasn't weigh-ins. They didn't complain when there was gloves, when there wasn't gloves. They didn't complain on the unified rules or what a downed opponent is. They didn't complain when they could knee or when they can elbow. The wrestler just went out there and took care of business. That even includes people who didn't come from a wrestling background. The mindset of the wrestler to keep your mouth shut and to compete under whatever the rules are and live with the result either way and not be embarrassed about it is very unique. But from 1993 till right now, basically every technique that you've ever seen has been thrown out or redefined at some point. It doesn't matter how long they've been setting that damn cage up or how much longer they're going to set it up. If you get on top of a guy and you keep him down, you're going to win. And that's what we saw with Francis and Surreal. We just got a reminder that from 1993 to present day, the only thing that still has held up the test of times is if you can get on top of the other guy and keep him down against his will, you're going to win. And as I look at the heavyweight class right now, I have never seen wrestling so underrepresented. I don't see the Nick Gwiazdowskis of the world. I don't see the Gable Stevens of the world. I don't see the Terrell Delegnevs of the world. I don't see anybody. We don't have a single All-American signed to the company at heavyweight. I was so unaware When I saw the deficit in skills done by Francis, when I saw the deficit in skills done by Surreal, it dawned on me, we don't have an All-American in the whole damn organization. When has that ever happened? How did I not realize this was happening? Where are these guys? And in addition to that, I don't suggest for you just because we saw that wrestling works, and if you bring in some great wrestler, we got to elevate them over. We got great wrestlers, and they all chickened out. I don't get to bring up the fact that Brock Lesnar would have beaten either guy in the ring the other night, and you know it. You know Brock Lesnar would be the champion of the world. I don't get to do that. I don't get to come in and tell you that Daniel Cormier, if Francis Ngannou could take Surreal down, I don't need to even ask you, do you believe with full confidence that Daniel could take him down? I don't need to do that. Because they had the opportunity. Daniel was there. He didn't step in there. So I don't get to, it's not fair by me. And the same thing comes to Jon Jones. I do see it the way that Jon sees it today. Which is, Jon, your skills, your size, your everything is enough. But where was I last week speaking up on Jon's behalf? Where was Jon speaking up on Jon's behalf, right? If you're scared, if you don't have the balls to go in there and even try, you don't get to be part of the conversation. But you do see where it is very relevant that the one technique that worked is a technique that worked in 2010, in 2000, in 1995, and in 1993, the first thing they ever did this. And there's no other technique that you could say that about. Get on top of a guy against his will and keep him there against his. And we don't have a single wrestler that has stepped forward and is representing our sport in the heavyweight division right now for the first time ever. If I would have told you a week ago, Lesnar's going to come in, it's going to be a great pay-per-view, someone's going to beat his ass, you'd have tuned in and you watched it and you would have thought the same thing. Now you see Brock Lesnar would be the heavyweight champion of the UFC. He just didn't know it. He didn't have the courage to go do it. And that is something that changed in 1994. Not 93 when they set it up. It was another year, 1994, and the athlete was named Dan Severn. I was a wrestler. I was a lifelong wrestler. We got picked on in the hallways just like everybody else. Football player comes down the hallway, you get the hell out of the way. He's bigger, he can bench press more. That's all what we thought. Dan Severn showed the world, no, actually wrestling is very good for combat. No one knew that. This wasn't some secret society that all the wrestlers, we knew what we could do. We did not. We had no idea that wrestling could deal with karate or deal with boxing or deal with it. It had never been tested. So it was shown to us all. I'm just reminding for you because we've got some damn good wrestlers here. You think Daniel Cormier couldn't come right off the bench and take those guys down? I don't think you think that. I think you know that he could. You don't think Cain Velasquez could go sharpen up for a few months? You don't think that Brock Lesnar could come right over? Brock Lesnar would be the champion of the world right now, but he didn't know it. And the same thing goes for Jon Jones. I believe with full confidence that Jon Jones is the best fighter in the world, but he's not the champion. Should he be looked at it like that? And I don't know why Miocic is so quiet. I will never understand why Stipe is so quiet. There may be a day where I come out and I understand it and I respect it. I don't either right now. I appreciate what a nice person he is. I appreciate the way he has represented himself. I appreciate that he puts his family, his fire department, and his city above all else. But I don't understand it and I don't agree with it. I think an interim championship is brewing right now. The only question, who's going to fight for it? So Real Gone, not for nothing, has not done a single thing right in this process. So Real Gone is the Kevin Nash of heavyweight champions. He is the worst drawing, lowest interest champion the UFC has ever had. That is a short-term memory. And I'm sure that's not a literal statement, but Surreal has done nothing right. And you have to understand why it's important to do things right. Oh, Chael, you always think a guy needs to go out there and talk. Yes, I do. I think the guy needs to be remembered. I don't care that he has a job tonight. Even a main event that's going to pay with a whole bunch of commas and zeros. I don't care as much as I do. Does he have a job to go to tomorrow? I thought Surreal won the fight. I don't care to hash that out. I thought the fighting part of it, the doing damage to your opponent, the fighting part, that was done, was controlled by Surreal Gone. That's what I think. And damage is supposed to trump octagon control. Octagon control does matter, but it is not the first. The first is damage, followed by octagon control. So you got the guy with the octagon control who wins the whole contest, not the guy that did the damage. I don't agree. That's okay. I don't want to rehash that. I'm just trying to prove the point that Surreal was as close as you can get. Can we agree on that? He was as close as you could possibly get. So if Francis is going to leave the scenario, then Surreal by definition should be the number one contender. Still. How do you beat the number one contender? The only guy you lose is the champion. The champion leaves, and then all of a sudden you lose your spot. That doesn't make sense. But of course you can't put Surreal back in there. Not after you see what a terrible job he did. He did a terrible job leading into this thing. He's done a terrible job on the way out the door. And then he called for a rematch. He called for a rematch. He thought he did something good. He looks around. God, the building's empty for a main. Building's not full for a heavyweight attraction. He thought he did something good. They'll give him another one. Surreal is not going to get another one. But let's just use the logic. But in fairness, he should still be looked at as a top contender. And if that's true, and now that we know what we know, Stipe Miocic has a very easy night in front of him. If you get Surreal out of the mix, now you start to have the Stipe and the Jon Jones conversation, which is where I think that it's going to go. But it doesn't have to, and Jones has an opportunity to slip in and grab himself a world championship. Jones needs to decide, does he want to partner up with Stipe or does he want to partner up with Surreal? And this is one thing that these heavyweights never understand. They haven't understood this in the beginning of time. And quite frankly, it's not just unique to the heavyweights. It's all the fighters. They don't understand. I've got an enemy. I have a rival across from me. To hell with that guy. You have a partner. That when the guy in the shark suit gets the hell out of the way and the dude with the dreadlock says go, you have a partner that you're working with. So you need to go out and identify who that partner is going to be. Who is going to bring in the most to this night of business that we're going to share. Get a plan together and come out in the media and make something happen. These heavyweights don't get that. That'll never happen. They will have their lives controlled by the luck of the draw and somebody else on the second floor at the corporate headquarters, the same as they've always done. But right now is nothing but an opportunity. Be the guy to pull Francis out. Be the guy that goes after Francis and puts him into a corner in a way that he feels he has to come out and defend. You don't think Dana's going to appreciate that you were the one that did that? You don't think whatever 55-pounder lured Khabib back out, getting Dana, you think Dana's going to forget that guy? I'm going to pat you on the back and tell you did a damn good job. You helped me to solve my job. Thank you. And you're going to be rewarded for it. But this is an opportunity that's staring you in the face right now. Not to mention there's never been another time. For the first time in UFC history that I can remember, there's not an All-American in wrestling amongst the bunch of you. But it's still a division where whoever gets on top and stays there longest leaves with all the accolades. So the wrestlers need to wake up. And the rest of you boys that have these skills and you want an opportunity need to speak up.